is it Howard County, Ruby, that was very helpful with helping you with the grant process. And, a lot of our partners that we listened to last month were saying that, not last, yeah, last month, we're saying that it's coming along. There are some programs, there are some supports. I really liked hearing the speaker when she talked about the different supports that they were providing for the grantees. And I think it was a consensus that we do need more support, but I think we have a good start.
Yeah, thank you. Anything else? Okay,
So,
well,
Ruby, this is Rachel at the AIB, and I would love to just take a second that I loved the last meeting. Like, I sat here just listening and taking it all in, and I may have been bragging about our Pillar One Advisory Committee meeting quite a bit throughout the next week, and just said, wait a minute, in this 1 hour, we heard what Blueprint's doing. We're starting. And I keep saying now we're in the messy middle. It's not easy, but we just have to jump in, take a bite, and keep going and figure out what we need. And you had so many guests here from all around the state, from different perspectives, different roles, but we heard so many wins. We also heard the hard things, right? There's hard things. There's things that we need to collaborate on and address and make easier. But we need to hear that in order to help people do that. So I think that there's been a great mix of guests and voices. As I recall, we had either higher ed or community colleges also. We had private providers, public. We had such a mix. That's what Pillar One's all about. So I was really excited and jazzed when I left that conversation and took that back to our members to say, like, wow, this was incredible. So many thanks to everyone who was here for that, and for just the opportunity to spotlight what's happening.
Yeah, I mean, I was pleased, that people are willing to come to the table and talk to one another, which is what we really need to do in Pillar One. So that's great. And it's because of the leadership, Rachel, the two Rachels are, leading and making sure that, everything is taken care of. Thank you so much. So let me start by my experience as a grantee. I'm going to be quick. So the only thing that I want to highlight is the enrollment requirement for that you have to meet an 85% by December the 31st. I think the AIB should look into this because we're only licensed for 8, and that translates to about 6. 6 has to be a qualified student, and sometimes that's hard to meet. And the other thing also is the chronic absenteeism that's allowable, which is 10% of the total enrollment days of 180. That translates to about 18 days maximum in a year. Now, there are a lot of I don't know about you, but there's this nasty cough that's going around that lasts forever. And one of the kids was sick for about 2 weeks. So that translates to 10 days already gone. So this child has only about 8 days till the rest of the school year. So I think maybe we should look into how we can support the children that are legitimately, that are sickly, or how we can, think about ways in order to address this 10%. And I guess that's it on my end. And I will turn it to my next guest speaker, which is Bill Hudson. He is the one that's running the Aspire program that supports the family child care providers. Go ahead, Bill.
Thanks, Ruby. Thanks to the team at the AIB for inviting us to attend. I hope this is one of many future conversations about what I think is a very important component, which I'll talk about in just a moment. I do want to highlight one fact that underlies everything else in terms of trying to make community partners successful. And I know you'll hear some of this from my partner or my colleagues in the center world. MSD needs to create a better system to help pre-K community partners fund their programs. The current system is problematic, and I don't blame them for that. I think that's a matter of old systems and maybe not enough staff. However, unless that is rectified, a better system is built, it's going to severely hamper the ability for us to attract more community partners to this effort. And it will, I mean, all the things we're doing collectively to reduce the barriers to entry for community partners, whether it's center, family child care, or otherwise, those are going to be hampered unless the funding issue is worked out. So with that, for those of you who don't know me, again, I'm Bill Hudson, Executive Director for Family Child Care Alliance of Maryland. 2019, we created the Aspire, what became the Aspire Pre-K program, which was designed to make it easier for family child care, eligible family child care providers to participate in Maryland's Pre-K program. Prior to that time, only 1 or 2 family child care providers participated a year. And according to our conversations with MSD, when they did it, they never came back. We started small, and this fall we have over 50 funded programs in 18 counties with over 200 funded children. So family child care will participate, but it is a challenge. And that's what the Aspire Pre-K program is designed to solve. I do want to make the point, and I think some of you may have heard this before, the blueprint is an unprecedented intersection between the K through 12 world and the childcare world, or the childcare sector. Nothing ever like has ever happened in Maryland. And the reason I point that out is I know the iceberg analogy is overused, but what you're seeing right now is just the tip of the things we've got to confront and to create a really seamless and integrated mixed delivery system. There are profound differences between the K-12 world and the childcare sector. The mission, while both focused on children, is very different. The aggregate workforce is different. The compensation structure is different. The regulatory environment different. The resources available are different, and a host of other areas, which we don't have time to get into today. And when you talk about family child care, the distance is even greater. For those of you who aren't familiar with family child care, licensed family child care providers typically work about 60 hours a week. That's before trying to integrate pre-K into their programs. That's just part of the challenges they deal with. Beyond just writing a grant and managing a grant, you've got all these other issues they do because they're a sole proprietor in most cases. The last 3 years, we've been building a system to help bring parity to quality so that I can talk to a parent and say, whether you're in a public school system or whether you're in a child care center or whether you're in a family child care home, your child is going to get a high quality pre-K environment. And that takes a lot of work. And family child care providers, from my experience, or the ones that have joined our program, say they need that kind of support because family child care providers, as Ruby can tell you, are the most isolated EC workers in the sector. As they will tell you, I spend my day surrounded by people under 3 feet tall. I may see the parents in the morning and I see the parents in the evening, but unless I have an assistant, I generally don't interface with other adults during the day. Unlike Jacob, when he goes to work, he has mentors, he has peers, he has somebody who can walk down this hallway and talk about this and talk about that. And in some cases, the centers are the same. Family child care does not have that. So we have to build that system around them to support them as they're trying to integrate family pre-K. And to cut this short, I do want to say there, again, when we talk about the challenges here, a lot of talk has been given to the pre-K certification, alternative certification, the non-public nursery school regulations, all great. And I have to give credit to everybody around this table who spent a lot of time working on this. But that truly is the tip of the iceberg. Just a few examples. In Comar, there is a requirement that for a new public school teacher has to go through a 3-year induction program. It is in Comar. There has to be an orientation program at the beginning of the school year. And then over the course of 3 to 4 years, depending on the school district, there is supposed to be coaching, mentoring, evaluation, this, that, and the other, to help that educator become better at their craft. Nothing like that exists in centers and family child care. So my question is, are we go into the future, is the blueprint going to specify that needs to be in place for centers and family child care? We're actually building it for family child care. And we're trying to be ahead of the curve rather than get surprised by this later. Another feature of the blueprint says that at a certain point in time, and I can't remember the date, there's supposed to be a 60-40 split between the time a teacher spends in the classroom and the time they're going to meetings, doing meeting prep or curriculum preparation, things like that. How does that apply in centers, and particularly family child care when you work alone? So now we have a regulation supposed to come out of the blueprint that in all practicality is impossible in a family child care home. And then when you think about starting salary, we're talking about having a starting salary in centers and family child care that's equivalent to the local school district. A little easier in centers, not always. But if you think about family child care, in a center in a public school system, your max number of students is 20. In a family child care, for an average family child care home, it's 8. Maximum is 12. So even if I wanted to hire a teacher, I'm already at a disadvantage in terms of funding that teacher. We have over 1,000, our estimate is over 1,000 family child cares in the state that have a bachelor's degree. So that leaves another 3,000 that if the system was set up, they could actually hire a certified teacher, but not under these constraints. And lastly, again, this applies to my colleagues in the centers, it does to family child care. We're looking at the expectations on high quality pre-K as defined and what we expect in public school systems, yet they have a large number of resources that are not available to everybody else. So family child care providers do not get county funding. So state funding and whatever the parents kick in, that's the resources we have. So the expectation, which I think is a great one, and we're showing it can be done with a network, that you can deliver high quality programs in family child care. But we need to have a conversation about resource allocation and making sure that we're not expecting one group of pre-K educators to do the same quality of work with less resources. So thank you for the time, and I'm available for questions if you'd like.
I think Chris has a question. Go ahead, Chris. You're muted.
Sorry, I was on mute. Yep. So, Bill, would you mind expanding a little bit on the actual program of how, you have quite a extensive network of family child care providers, and how that works in Aspire, where just so the AIB is clear on the support system in place, because I agree with you that the community-based private programs don't have an LEA. We look to build a system, and we hope the AIB recommends that we build a hub or a system that would be specifically for the community-based programs to tackle some of these things and shared services. But Bill, could you explain how your program works? Just because I don't think everyone knows. I
Sure.
do. But
So the first thing we do is we are the pre-K grant entity, and the family child care providers in our program are not. So we take on all the grant management process. We take on the application process. We take invoicing to the state processes to take that off their plate, because as the providers here can tell you, they wear 25 to 30 hats a week. So adding grant management on top of that and grant writing on top of that is, in my opinion, a bridge too far. So that's the first thing. The second thing is we do extensive interviewing, because the way in which the application process is set up right now, provided you have Excels level 3, you write a good grant, a couple other, you have the right educational requirements, you're automatically in. Well, I can tell you that's the pre-K program is not for everybody, because the money sounds great, but once you get in and figure out that you're expected to perform at the same level as a public school teacher, people drop out. So we try and make sure that the folks that get into the program know what they're getting into, because every time you add a provider, whether it's a center or a family child care home, to the pre-K grant program, you spend money, whether at the state level or at our level. It takes money to manage the grant. It takes money to send people out for the IQRs. It takes money to process the invoices, et cetera, et cetera. And then where the induction program comes in, we have a stable of coaches who have all taught in public school. Most have a master's degree, 2 have PhDs, who have worked in mentoring / coaching environments, and they work with our educators every single week, starting before the school starts, so that we work around 3 different things. 1, teacher-child interaction measured by class. We have a class assessment in the fall. We use that to guide our coaching. So then we have another class assessment in the spring. We prepare the educators to understand what's expected in an instructional quality review and make sure that their performance is up to that level. And then we work on fidelity to curriculum. We use the pre-K curriculum from Teaching Strategies. along with the back-end Gold system to monitor child data so that we can actually adjust the curriculum to each individual child within the program. And then throughout the year, we have various trainings, we have various group meetings, and then we're in the process of building a community of practice so that once you go through the induction program, you still have support around you. Otherwise, you go through our induction program, you leave the program, you're the old one-room schoolhouse. You still don't have that support mechanism around you. Now, some enterprising family childcare providers are going to build that themselves, but we want to have something in place so that you still have that network around you, that you're not out there on your own once you go through the training program.
Yeah. So Bill, I am doing the grant independently,
Yep.
and I do get the support and the resources from the local, the LEAs
Mhm.
in the county. So I know it's doable. So what is the Alliance doing to empower the seasoned teachers that you've had now for 3 years towards independence? Are you kind of empowering them so they can apply just like myself and be an individual grantee that can do our own program? And also the other thing, you did mention something about the grant administration and stuff like that. A lot of us, we have very small group. So right now we get paid like 85% of an entry-level bachelor's.
Mhm.
A lot of us have the capacity or know-how to administer the grant ourselves. So I think it would make more sense if they allow us to be the lead teacher as well as the grant administrator, if you're able or if you have the ability to do so. Because a lot of us are excellent bookkeepers. We can do invoices, we can submit the stuff, and we're used to working long hours. And again, the pre-K is only for 6.5 hours. So
Right.
we can, it's doable. So I think we have to work towards independence, so that way we can build the workforce, get more teachers out there in place instead of being stagnant and just giving them the tools and they have to take baby steps in order to improve their program and gain towards independence.
Well, thanks for the questions, Ruby. 4 points there. One is, as a requirement to get into the Aspire Pre-K program, you have to have a growth mindset. Our goal is that continual quality improvement, regardless of which year you are in the program. And in our community of practice, we will be expecting our educators to continue to professionally grow, just like you do in a public school system, in a higher ed system. Continual professional growth is an expectation. Secondly, I have to say, we rarely ever have a provider who does not want to be part of our program. I have 3-year providers in our program. I think 10 of them are P3 certified. They want to be part of this program. They don't want to do this on their own. They get the full $13,000 for each eligible child in their program. And then we manage the grant on their behalf. So they don't have to do the work, and they get the full amount of the money, and they get the professional backup. They get the professional network. So yes, absolutely. If there are educators out there who want to do this on their own, great. We should have that track. But I can tell you from our experience we have the 53 funded, and we have another 20 in our preparatory program for a total of 73 providers. Over the course of 4 years, I've had maybe a 5% attrition rate. The providers that get in our program, and I had some of our P3 providers say the other day, we don't want the 3-year induction program to end. We don't want to leave.
Yeah.
Because they see the benefit. Now, I just want to add one more thing. In terms of LEA support. Now, you live in Howard County, which is one of the more well-resourced counties in the state. That is not the case across the state. We have one county this year, and I can't remember which one it is. We are their first community partner. They don't have the infrastructure in place to support community partners. And even some of the other counties I've talked to, they don't have the infrastructure in place, regardless of their resources, to support a large number of community partners. So we're actually filling in for the LEAs. Again, if an LEA wants to take on that role, and I've asked LEAs, do you have enough staff to do everything you want to do right now? Never have I gotten an answer yes.
Yeah.
So this is actually taking on additional roles that we can take for them so they don't have to do it.
Well, yeah, so we're actually encouraging the LEAs to have community-based teachers that will support us. Howard and Montgomery has them. I was just talking to Frederick, and they're on their way to developing that. Can we just hold off, or Carolina, because we want to be able to get through everyone. Hold off towards the end and we'll just quickly go through. Wendy, you're up next, 3 minutes or less.
Hello, everyone. My name is Wendy Dingus, and I'm a family child care provider in Charles County. The majority of family child care providers in Calvert, Charles, and St. Mary's counties do not totally understand what the Maryland Blueprint is all about. They do not know how this will affect their child care programs in the future. We feel that this is a big concern, and we would like to have more information sent out to these providers so that they can eventually be able to work into the blueprint as the future goes on. Some of their concerns are most of them do not have bachelor's degrees, and this will take a lot of time to achieve at this point. Most of them have been working on their credentialing, accreditation, and excels as they've been asked to do, but they didn't know that they should be working on their bachelor's. And yes, there are programs out there, but they didn't realize that this is going to be something that was coming down the pike. To participate in the pre-K, they would have to hire a lead teacher, as that's been discussed. And this, they believe, will be will not be financially feasible for most, even with the funds coming from the state. Most providers do not have the extra space that will be needed to have a separate room to have the pre-K students. And those that do want to do nothing but pre-K, they are conflicted because most of their families are multiple children from one family. And those families would like to stay within one provider, their child going to pre-K with that provider, and then their younger children also with the same provider. We have a lot of concerns about this. We feel like providers are probably going to feel that they're not going to be able to do this, and they would rather do the pre-K in their homes, or they're not going to do the pre-K. And if they decide to do the pre-K, then we're really concerned with the infants. Where are our infants going to go? We're already in an infant crisis as it is now. If the provider is the lead teacher, then she will have to hire an assistant to care for any younger children if she decides to keep both multiples in the program. So now they're thinking that that's not going to be feasible either. Another big concern was when school is out for the summer, the provider loses income unless that child who was with them for pre-K stays in for the summer with them. If not, it's going to be very hard to fill a spot for just that short amount of time for the summer and then start your pre-K back up in September. For the pre-K expansion, they have been discussing that the capacity needs to be increased from 8 to 10 students. This would align with the 10-to-1 teacher ratio. This will increase the capacity and help with the financial incentive. And last, the providers feel that there is really no financial incentive to participate. In order to encourage more participation, lead teacher can also be the grant administrator. As Ruby was saying, most of them already run their businesses. They already do their paperwork. They already do their books and their financials, and they believe that they should be paid for both positions. Most providers do work the 60 hours a week, as Bill said, but they also include all that in with most of their hours, and we feel like that would be an incentive for providers if that was allowed. Let me see, there was one more thing. It says that we really would like to know more information. We don't feel like the information about the blueprint has gotten out to the family child care providers and centers within our state. And we'd really like to know more about this and how it's eventually going to be. I mean, most providers don't know by 2030 that this is going to be full on going. And that's not a lot of time to be able to get everybody on the same page and running so that we can get all the pre-Ks, whether in the family child care or within the school system itself. If anybody has any questions, I can help you with that now. If not, I thank you very much for your time.
I think Rachel has a question.
I
Yes.
do. Thank you, Wendy. Thanks so much for raising that. You got the right person on the line here. So one of my roles with policy director here at the AIB is coordinating the technical assistance needed. So I would love to talk with you about how we best do that. And I'm imagining that timing is tricky, the just right. How do we do it? Like, do we pull people together? I find that it's sometimes better to be able to talk to people rather than just give them something to read, and also to facilitate the exchange of questions and answers. So I would be happy to connect with you. I'll put my email in the chat that we can plan whatever this needs to be. And that goes for everybody here. If you have an audience of educators that we need to bring information to, that is what my team and I do. So we would love
I think that's a wonderful idea. Yes, I really think that would help out the Tri-County providers, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
You got it. I'm putting my email here. Everybody, if you have a similar TA need, something, whether it's broad blueprint or if it's kind of a more specific topic, our team is happy to support the development of that. Come to you. We will come to a certain region of the state or a certain place. Lisa and I would be happy to do that. We would love to be able to talk with people directly, clarify any information, and also just to hear, how can we help?
Okay.
What needs to happen? What are the barriers? How do we help?
Great. Thank you very much.
You bet.
We'll be in touch.
Perfect.
That's amazing, because I know Wendy was planning that blueprint awareness in the Tri-County. That's why
Excellent.
that's right. So that is great. Rachel, if you can help her with that.
You bet. We'll join together and figure out the exact need, and we'll be there.
Yeah, it's St. Mary's, Calvert, and
Charles. Got it.
Thank you. Next, we have Chris Bush, Executive Director, Maryland Child Care Association.
If you want me to yield to Lisa and Carolina go last, I'm happy to do through, because I don't want to have them not have their turn. So let them go, and then I'll finish up if you want.
Okay. Lisa, do you want to talk about your program? What are the successes and
Sure.
what are the challenges?
Sure. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share perspectives around participation in the Pre-K Expansion Grant Program and the Mixed Delivery System. The child care programs I'm affiliated with have implemented community-based public pre-K for 7 of the last 8 years. We have served up to 40 children per year in Anne Arundel County in this capacity. In our experience, the grant has had a positive impact on children and families. Our families love the option of attending their home, in quotes, child care program, and appreciate the benefit of greater access at no cost to high quality pre-K. The grant has also significantly increased the diversity of our program. We now have greater socioeconomic and cultural diversity in our classrooms. Our teachers have also benefited from the collegial relationships with our grant monitors, who provided observations and feedback to improve instruction. However, there are also some challenges to participation in the grant program. You knew that was coming, right? The most significant barrier in our experience has been attracting and retaining a qualified early childhood education certified teacher. The reason we were not able to participate in the grant for the 22-23, so that's last school year, is because despite searching for over 6 months, we were not able to employ a qualified teacher, and therefore we could not apply for the grant. While we've been able to find a teacher for the current school year, a significant barrier is competing with public school benefits, including health insurance, retirement, and pay increases. Even if it were possible to obtain comparable benefits on the open market, the per-child grant funding would not cover the cost. As a result, community-based pre-K programs are at a disadvantage compared to the employment package that is offered by an LEA, and multiple teacher applicants have stated they would prefer to work in a community-based setting, but they're not able to forego the benefits package. Another financial barrier to participation is the time to process grant payments. We have been told by our grant monitor to please allow time for the invoice reimbursement, and currently it is taking 6 to 8 weeks to process payments. This means that when we submit our invoice on October 1st for September's expenses, we may wait until mid to late November to receive the payment. In addition to that, at the time of the application for the grant, programs are offered the option to apply for an advance. I'm not sure how much everybody knows about the grant application process, but the idea of the advance is that it would cover implementation costs until the first invoice may be submitted. However, while we applied for the advance payment at the time of application in April of 23, the advance was not received until September 25th. In the meantime, our biggest expense in our case is the payroll for the certified teacher and the assistant with the AA degree started to become an expense on August 16th because we employed them and they started preparation for the children to arrive at the beginning of the school year. So this is a serious challenge to us because community-based programs don't have large funding reserves that can carry the associated costs of implementation while awaiting payment. Thus, the current payment processing time is prohibitive to participation. A final challenge that I want to mention, and I know this has been touched on related to another county, but while an MOU with the LEA is a required part of the grant participation, and we have had them during these 7 years, the reality for us has been that we're not included in a meaningful way in collaboration with the LEA. We would love for our teachers to be invited to applicable professional development. We would love for children to be referred to our program or for our name to be included on a list that's provided to families by the LEA. And we'd really like to have more interaction with the early childhood coordinator so we could work together in our district to support children's school readiness in both public and community-based settings. I'm happy to take any questions if there are any.
Yeah, that's great, Lisa. But I like the professional development and then maybe help with the marketing.
Ruby, can I say something to that real fast? So, something that we've really tried really hard up here in Washington, I can only speak for Washington County because obviously that's where I'm at, but we have worked really hard to go out to our community providers. Bill's nodding because we go out to 2 of his community providers. We actually were just there last week, and we talked to them. We spend some time in their child care centers. We have invited our child care providers or our community partners to our professional developments when it's applicable. Sometimes the disconnect is that they use a different curriculum than we do. So, but our coordinator and I, we go out and we go to Head Start and to our private providers and provide professional development as much as we can on, general things, science of reading, behaviors, stuff like that. So, I'm happy to, talk to anybody about how we've been doing that up here. And, I'm not bragging, but I'm just trying to say that, it is possible. And we've tried really hard to kind of build that bridge and try to work together, because the ultimate goal is to get all of these kids kindergarten ready, whether they're in a private provider or in our LEA. And, we are universal pre-K here. So, that does take a big chunk of the 4-year-olds, but, we never want our private providers to feel like we're not trying to help them as well. So I'm happy to talk to anybody that ever has questions about that.
Gina, I couldn't have said it better. You captured the vision of the blueprint that, we're going to need to work together to be able to find all of our 3- and 4-year-olds, to be able to lay that solid foundation. So you guys are doing really great work. And Lisa, I'm going to send you a message with my email as well. Would love to help. Pull me in where you can, and happy to kind of help address. You raised several really great points that are challenges that we need to find solutions to. And one of the best things that we can do at the AIB is be able to spotlight things like Gina that has a solution in another county. It may not work exactly the same, but it gives us a launching point for a conversation, and then we customize it for each new place that we're trying to spread the same strategies.
Yeah. Would you think the AIB would consider the timeline for the award and the NOGA earlier?
So it's not a grant that we manage. It's not, there are other agencies involved and other systems in place, but I can take information back. We meet regularly. We advocate regularly. Pillar 1 is on our discussion list quite regularly with MSDE. And the collaboration is strong. So when my awareness gets increased, we at the AIB, I'm able to go back to Rachel Heiss or to our team and say, here's a challenge, here's a roadblock, what can we do? And then, I don't believe that there's any intention for delays. It's just like Bill mentioned, there's some structural things that we need to address, and we're recognizing this as a challenge. So we just all need to come together and brainstorm now. So I think that's the role that the AIB is going to be able to help, is hear from you and then be able to help figure it out. Like the answers aren't there, but we collectively can figure it out. And I know that MSDE is very committed. You know, they want to see this too for the same reasons. So yes, we can support for sure.
Yeah. It takes a village, right?
It does.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Lisa. So Simeon is not here, right? So Carolina?
Yay, my turn. I have been waiting patiently. So thank you, everyone. I first want to say that I will try not to repeat what all of my colleagues here have said. I agree with all of them. We have facing all of those barriers, and hopefully we can find collectively and with people in the field solutions, you know, to better assist our families and children. So again, my name is Carolina Reyes. I'm an immigrant. I created a bilingual preschool where I embracing culture and language, and the idea of promoting and representing with my teachers who our community is. And with that, I have my classroom taught in Spanish for the idea of acquiring a new language, but also to embrace, you know, the Latino community that is so extensive where I am located. And with that, I want to just point out that we as providers have been found, you know, many barriers in the blueprint, but as a person who likes to work towards change and to be able to improve this field, I want to share with you all that I have found the partnership with Head Start. So this year, this is something that I want to present with all of you, that it will be an alternative for many of the private, you know, community. I joined Head Start because one of the first reasons that I did this partnership was that they do not look, you know, the child legal status to be able to be part of Head Start. And as we all know, the Child Care Scholarship, which is what, you know, our parents in the child care community uses, the child must be USA citizen or resident of the United States. And that is a barrier. We are not including all the children when we have that, you know, requirements. So with Head Start, it opened that opportunity for me to be able to provide quality early childhood education to all children, and, you know, in their native language for many of them. So that is as a suggestion that I can provide to all of you. And in addition to be partnered with Head Start, my teachers have professional development. We have support from, behavioral specialists. We have a family specialist who work with us and provide us, you know, training. We are just starting, so obviously it's going to be some learning experience through the process. But the fact that we are able to meet and embrace, you know, our diverse community, that's something that Arcoiris wanted to take into consideration. I also want to applaud, Washington County. I saw last meeting, and I think that we should use this as a model for the other counties. I am in Prince George County, and so far I have never been reached out as from the public school system to be able to partner or to help us through the process. I learned in the last meeting when I saw it, the video, that you guys are helping. You're reaching out to the private providers. You are helping them with the grant writing, which is, even though Ruby is important for us to do it as a solo, many of us need the assistance. So I applaud real, organization to be able to help the people through that process, because it is a very complicated, part of the process to be able to be part of the public pre-K. I also want to highlight that as an immigrant, and as you all know, we have a very diverse group of childcare providers who come from other countries with higher education. instead of start all over again, we should embrace that. We should hug them and hold their hands to be able to reach what the blueprint belief is the high quality teacher. And with that, I would say that maybe we need to rethink about what is early childhood education. Right now, I'm in a master program in early childhood education. And I just want to say that I want for the blueprint to review what are we being taught as an early educator in master and higher education. I know that we are focusing on 3 and 4 years old, but as we all know, early childhood education starts at birth. And we need to start embracing that, and we need to start really highlighting the very important role of the social and emotional foundation of the children. Reading and other aspect of education, the cognitive aspect is very important as well, but we are coming out from a pandemic, and we already have seen and we're already learning the high percentage of children with challenging behavior or other, behavioral and mental health problems. And I have colleagues and student classmates who are in kindergarten teachers, and they agree with us. The amount of testing that sometimes our kindergartners are having, and I am worried about what is going to happen with our 3 and 4 years olds. I also want to ask if we can count experience for college credits. As you know, master programs require for the student to go and do an internship in the school system, right? So I don't know if you know, but if you go for a whole semester, a full time without being paid, teachers like me, for instance, an owner who wants to acquire a master's degree, I have to go to the school system. Why my experience in early childhood education and childcare setting doesn't count? When we do that, we are minimizing the childcare workforce. We are minimizing, that our role in education, it seems like it doesn't matter. We should consider and take in consideration that our time working in a childcare setting, if centered or family, counts. We matter too as educators. We do so much. So experience should count. I learned today in a course that UMBC provide 11 coursework hours for 100 days for students. So I don't know exactly how many college hours is that, but that is something that maybe we can consider. I also would like to ask to open the opportunity for colleges and universities beyond the state of Maryland. So that way, for instance, maybe we can have an online courses for people who don't speak English. I will speak up particularly for the Spanish population, which is much greater in our Maryland state. Once again, we have teachers who come from higher degrees. So in order for us to take, courses, I go to college, it will take a long time. I'm going to tell you, it took me 10 years to be able to acquire a bachelor's degree. I needed to learn English. I needed to learn how to write and compose essays for a college degree. And I work 40 hours a week, and I am a mom. And the reality is that these people who work in the field, who are essential for our economy and for our families, need to be able to be seen and respected, and to be able to find these pathways for them to be able to be part of this. We have heard from our governor and from many elected officials that Maryland is working towards being inclusive, equitable, and in order for us to do that, we need to consider the people like me, like my college and my teachers, who bring so much to our children. I also want to share that I have heard many times that when we encounter families who have children with challenging behavior or any other, IFP condition, they are not, unfortunately, being seen as an individual, as a community, as a family. The childcare community does that. We have relationships that are so strong with our families. Sometimes we can understand much more what is going on, and we help them. So we need to take that in consideration too. We would like assistance for the grant money. I think it will be important that, counties reach out, like once again, like Washington County, they're doing an amazing job. I was very happy to hear that. I hope other counties can copy that. And I think the coaching and mentoring is key. I think the coaching and mentoring can definitely replace, the timing to go to college. If we have those coaching and mentoring coming to see what we do, on what we work on, competencies, the experience and the skills that many of us have, we do so much. And lastly, we cannot end without, talking about compensation. I just lost a teacher who has a CDA, and she just quit because unfortunately I cannot compete with salaries, with benefits. And at the same time, we need to allow these teachers to grow because they are person who has families and they have children, and they always need to look what is best for them. But we also want to build strong foundations for, our children, right? So kindergarten is not the beginning of education, everyone. Yes, we're working for 3s and 4s, but we need to start accommodating a little bit more about the real necessities for these children at this age. So we need to be thinking about what we want and what are we testing our children. Reading and being ready to go to the next level for 3rd grade is not. I'm sorry, I had somebody coming to distract me. And I would say that. And I can have, answer any questions.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Carolina. So Chris Bush.
Yeah, I feel bad. Jacob had his hand up and I wanted to give him a chance. I know it's 6:30, so I'm only going to make like 2 statements, but if Jacob wants to ask his question, please let him go.
I was just curious from an individual provider's perspective on if you're feeling like, again, from a kindergarten teacher's perspective, do you know the curriculum and instruction they'll be moving into when they get to the public school kindergarten? Because there's some school systems that use core knowledge, which is a pre-K curriculum. And it'd be nice to know that your county is using core knowledge, because you might want to opt in to use the core knowledge pre-K curriculum with the pre-K students you have in your center. So I was just curious if you know that, because it would be good if there was a way to know that for the sake of alignment, for the sake of, that good transition for your kids. And if there isn't that type of communication set up, is there a pathway to creating, like some sort of hub where people can go and see what is the public school pre-K curriculum in each county, or in each LEA, I should say, because, Baltimore City as well. That would be something that I think would be helpful for providers who are like, I'm doing pre-K for the first time. What's out there? What should I use?
Jacob, I'm going to just speak to that, even though you didn't direct it specifically to me, but that's what I was speaking to about the MOU with the local district. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for a collaboration where that type of question and maybe some other questions would be part of the conversation, and that we would be working together collaboratively to support school readiness.
It's a great suggestion, Jacob. So glad that you brought that, because this is the whole idea of the AIB Pillar 1 is making recommendations about the barriers. And I think, we are running out of time. I just want to make a couple statements, and I know you need to close up, Ruby. As the blueprint continues to roll out with the sliding scale of families making 600% of the federal poverty level looming for 2025, and this speaks to Wendy's point, we will see an exodus of 3 and 4-year-olds potentially, and also our teachers with bachelor's, associates, and CDAs from the private community-based childcare. We will surely close more programs because we cannot stay open with just infants and toddlers. It's not sustainable. So if we lose them, because right now, the blueprint rolls out, we're at the 300% of the federal poverty level, families making $90,000. And when that jumps to the 600%, closer to the $180,000 on a sliding scale, many parents are going to take advantage of that opportunity. I mean, they're at the early stages of their career. They can't afford to pay the full tuition, and we have to pay a living wage or less, unfortunately, many times less, because we can't put it on the backs of parents. So this is really an important part to understand. As Wendy said, right now, it might not seem that you'll be fine and you're not going to lose your 3s and 4s, but let me assure you, you will begin to lose more of your 3s and 4s if we do not do something now to make sure that we are at the table in a mixed delivery and not on the menu, because this is what's going to happen if we don't have the AIB and Pillar 1 step up to make really important recommendations that either need to be legislatively mandated or recommendations that are firmly looked at and implemented by MSDE. And so I just want to finish. We must consider the unintended consequences and the numerous barriers and inequities in the blueprint for Maryland's education Pillar 1, along with the additional layers of challenges that prohibit many family childhood programs from participating in public pre-K. If we want to support working families who don't just work 6.5 hours a day, and we want to have a true mixed delivery system of a minimum 50-50 split, which you need because you don't have the capital dollars or the time to get these programs up and running to meet all of the 40,000 children you want to serve, then we have to have options for parents to choose what best meets their family's needs. And we must recognize and understand the unintended consequences to alleviate the barriers. And I have about 6 pages of unintended consequences I will send to Ruby that I hope that you will look at, because they are all about financial unintended consequences, teacher certification. I mean, you name it. I have like 7 categories. So I will be sending that on so that you have lots of time to look at it in writing. Thank you for your time. Oh, and one last thing. Out of 24 counties, almost all of them applied for waivers. That means that your mixed delivery system is not working. That means that's why this AIB recommendation is extremely important. So we're looking at legislation for this coming session to really put some guardrails on those waivers and figure out, and these great recommendations from tonight and your previous meetings, what we can do, because we can't wait for NOGAs to come out, Notice of Grant Awards, months later, because we can't pull down that 15% until you get your NOGA. And you didn't even, and MSD didn't even get the applications out till after we already have enrolled our children or try to enroll our children. So there's a lot of misunderstanding and not understanding what businesses do. And so we have to align that to be successful. So thank you for your time.
Yeah, I think maybe align the timeline. I'm sure they can tweak the timeline to make it fit. And that way we can get the funding in time and stuff. And you did say something about the alternative pathways. I know you mentioned something about that.
Yeah, House Bill 1219 that passed this past session and went into law on July 1st was very instrumental in allowing for some flexible alternative pathways that will really help Bill somewhat and many of the colleges to create these pathways. LEAs could do it if they chose to, nonprofits. So we're looking, and I met with UMBC and some leaders there. We're looking to find programs that are able to build out these alternative pathways so that we don't have to shut down our businesses or our classrooms to go into a public pre-K to do our internships, that we don't have to only have one way to certification in the traditional MAP program. And we are very grateful for that. And I know Delegate Atterbury is working on some additional opportunities that we hope to see passed for the community-based private programs to participate meaningfully in mixed delivery.
That is great. Thank you so much. And this is really wonderful discussion. And I hope that we can find solutions, and then we can continue the conversation with the LEAs and the next, I think for the next step, for the next meeting, I'd like to invite the Judy Center, Patty Centers, and some other LEAs. I know Wendy, St. Mary's and Charles agreed to come, right? And Frederick is also coming, the LEAs and the Judy Center in Frederick. So
Ruby, as we're thinking ahead to future meetings, an organization I thought would be interesting to hear from was MABE, the Maryland Associations of Boards of Education. I actually got to hear them speak at a recent county council meeting, and it sounds like, they're also considering what needs to be done in the adoption of the blueprint. So I'd love to hear their perspective on the roadblocks and frustrations amongst all, as representatives of all the boards of education in Maryland.
Yeah, this is the space where we can bring everybody in and start talking to one another. This is how we can lift up, make small work and make it really work, the blueprint. So can you do the invitation, and then maybe, or you can introduce me and then we can do.
Yeah, I'll try and find an email contact for them and make that connection.
Perfect. Thank you, Jacob. Appreciate that.
Jacob and Ruby, I can also help facilitate that if that would be helpful.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Rachel. I
Yeah,
know
and
I know
I would-
you've done so much because I'm always asking for something.
oh, that's my job, and I love it.
May I add something very quickly to
Yes.
Rachel before it ends?
Okay.
Yes.
So Rachel, you were kindly offering, the opportunity to talk about the blueprint to providers.
Yes.
Are we doing anything like that to our families as well in the state of Maryland? Many of our parents are not aware, for instance, of the public pre-K, the 4 3s and 4s. So what is the state doing to be able to educate or inform our families and, providers as well about the blueprint?
That's a really great question and a great point. And as AIB is still a pretty young agency when you look at things, so there's been a lot of standing up of our agency, but the technical assistance, professional development, all of that's needed, we see our families as one of the critical stakeholders that needs the information as well. So we are working on the full plan of what does that look like over the next 2 years, for families, for LEAs, for all of the stakeholders that we have identified that we're going to need to be able to get Blueprint implemented with fidelity and working. So families are definitely on the radar. We don't have dates and times yet, but my team is going to be working on that. Lisa is the first person to join my team. There will be 4 more policy analysts coming on board. And with that, we'll have more capacity to get out and to be where we need to be. For right now, if you can think of places to bring us, have us come to a conference, a convention, please do. We will be getting more organized around that and knowing what's out there too, and reaching out and say, hey, we'd love to, what info do you need? We also have a communications team that we've partnered with until we're able to hire our communications director, and we can kind of target messages. Like, can you help us think about how do we reach our parents? And not only our parents, but all the multi-language learners. So, we've got to be inclusive in that regard as well. So we're still in the phases of standing this up, but it is a priority. So I would ask for your help. If you come across a place where we can push in, we'll be there. We'll be there.
Rachel, next meeting, we're inviting the Judy Centers and the Patty Center. I didn't get a Patty Center yet, but
Okay.
we could start there because they are
Yeah.
working with families. So
That's perfect.
if we can collaboratively work with the Judy Centers, I mean, that's a step to reaching a lot of their parents.
You're right. It puts a lot more information out and more people armed with accurate information to be able to spread to the families. That would be a great place to start.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. I know we did go past the time, and I appreciate everybody's time. And this is really productive conversation. And thank you so much, Rachel. And thank you so much for all the guests here. I do appreciate your time and, of course, your passion and your energy in making the blueprint work.